somehow the mentors were able to understand my pain point and pick it out that yes, you are facing a problem here. Help me solve every doubt very religiously. Simply dragging it for like 6 months or a year is not the right solution to problems. I understood the nurturing capability of top 1%, not just with GMAT, but it is a whole transformation of a person's life. It was almost real-time chatbot kind of a situation where I would just put in my query, and within 5 to 7 minutes, I'll have a proper solution to it.
Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, or weekend afternoon, and for a good reason. We're really here to
Right.
looking at your GMAT journey. Uh, 675 on your score, 96 percentile,
Right.
an impressive quant, and quant percentile is 95th, verbal is 86th. 85th, yeah, data
86.
86, and
Indeed, I
it's a little blur there. Yeah. So, overall, how are you happy with the score? How did you find the exam itself?
So I'm quite satisfied with the first bit that I had some goals to fulfill with this score. So probably I'll be able to do that at the first place. And provided I had a very busy, packed up schedule for the last few months with interviewing for Bain Consulting Network, and then starting my office last month in July, and then prepping alongside my office hours. So with that being said, I feel I'm quite satisfied with the first bit that I have crossed this stage for one of my goals ahead. And probably I'd be happy to take up another attempt later on in my life in case I have some other plans beyond this.
But I remember and recall very clearly you said that you want to apply for ISB. तो वो हो गया. Like, did you apply for
Right. Yes.
that?
वो अभी के हिसाब से I think that is done. I can go ahead with the score.
Right. I mean, you have a stellar profile as well, as
Right.
is like just something that will happen easily. Uh,
Right.
so tell me, how did it all start? You just spoke that you got into Bain and Co. So tell me about your profile. When did you graduate, and how did this
Right.
entire thing of preparing for GMAT come into being?
So I graduated from Hansraj College this year. I was a student of the batch of 2024. So I
Right.
recently graduated in June. I have been in touch with Ranjika ma'am for the last, say, 1.5 years through my presence in TEDx Hansraj, where we collaborated for one project with top 1%. So I have been in touch with her since a long time. I attended a boot camp in the month of February that was held in Delhi by Sandeep sir. It was a day-long boot camp. So I was always attracted towards pursuing global MBA, GMAT, but I never gave a try on understanding how to go about it. Somehow I was very attracted towards attending this boot camp, and I was like, just let us just give it a try. Let's just be there and understand what actually happens. And that was one of the most impactful and life-changing sessions which I have ever had with Sandeep. So that 8 hours did not feel like a day-long event, and it was not tiring at all. So by the time I came out of the auditorium, I had a word with Sandeep sir and Ranjika ma'am that this is something I'd want to go ahead with. Not that I was persuaded into it. It was more like I understood what my caliber is and where I should be at that stage. And I made up my mind that GMAT will be my first goal in the coming few months. I enrolled with top 1% in the next 10 days, and I started my prep in the first week of March. I found the study prep of top 1% very impactful, provided the classes were just of 2 months. Somebody from outside, when they see that it is done in 2 months, they find that is it less, is it more? But after being there for 16 classes and a very intensive self prep course along with the live sessions, I understood this is what it actually takes. And simply dragging it for like 6 months or a year is not the right solution to problems. Every aptitude test or every entrance exam cannot be weighed on the same scale. Everything has to be taken differently. So I was pretty sure by the end of May that I am prepped well after the classes for to appear for GMAT. I appeared for a mock test. I fared well there. But again, DU has had the semester exams in the month of May. I already had an offer from ZS Associates where I was joining in the last week of July. So I made up my mind that I'll give my GMAT in the third week of July and I'll be well done with it before my corporate. But then Bain happened. I interviewed the entire month of June for Bain. So there it took another turn. I started my work in the first week of July itself, and I all that I felt was I had to be calm in the entire process. I just knew that I have to give an attempt before 31st August, and I was like, let's just keep prepping and see where it takes us. Um, 1 month before my exam, like I appeared for on 20th of August. On 20th of July, I was like, let's just fix a date. I had a long break just before 20th of August. I had a 6 day break, say Independence Day and all of those occasions. So I set my date as 20th of August and I was like, let's just go all in for 1 month. All I've heard from Sandeep sir is that 1 month is enough for the last run before your paper. And since I was well prepped before that, I was like, let's just take 1 month wholeheartedly and let's just go all in and see what happens at the end of the day.
Right. Right. So this was like almost an overview of
Right,
start to the end.
right, right.
So going back again, the very beginning, when you started off, what if you recall, it's been some time, and we do this boot camp sessions in different cities just for any student to get an overview. So you
Right.
were also from, like, I do not know about, if I'm sure of MBA GMAT, and then coming out of the 8 hour session almost transformed. And then picking that up, and almost, a couple of months later, here you are with the score, and hopefully within the next few weeks, and admit as well. And of course, you do also have like one of the most coveted job as well, because from here it only goes up, right? With the, best of the college, best of the GMAT score, and best of the, experience as well. So, what happened in bootcamp session? Would you like to just highlight that 8 hours, if you recall? What are the things that stood out the most in that live session? Live, it's not online, but it is physical session right there. So what really happened there?
Firstly, I understood my potential. So I understood where I was and where I had to be.
Right,
Before that, I just knew where I was. Uh, there was no clarity on where I can be or what I can do. Honestly, when I come from a background where I was studying in Hansraj, I knew that if I take up any space, any field, with consistent effort and dedication, I can crack it if I want. But uh, if somebody gives you a way, gives you a path to understand where you actually can be, and that was something which I never thought of, that seemed attractive and that seemed far-fetched before that. So there was a transformation in that field that I understood where I can be. Secondly, coming to the transformative feedbacks of people, those who have studied from top 1%, those who are outside, those who are still connected with top 1% in different ways. I understood the nurturing capability of top 1%, not just with GMAT, but it is a whole transformation of a person's life.
right,
There were a
right,
lot of testimonials and feedbacks about people who weren't at the best of the places before that. But with the transformation which has come into them after coming to top 1%, they have reached soared heights.
right,
So that was one thing. And secondly, I understood the differentiation between the different MBA programs which I'm exposed to, be it in India, abroad, even in abroad, different countries. So that gave me a lot of clarity to understand where I can actually be. And
right,
lastly, I felt like a holding hand or somebody who's just holding my hand and making me understand. I never came across a team of counselors who'd guide me so well.
right.
So when I felt that connection with the faculty and the people there, I understood that even if my goals change ahead, I'd have a team with me who'd always guide me in the best possible manner, taking into consideration my constraints as well.
Right. That is I think effort that we all at Top 1% do, that we are there whenever you need. If your goals have changed, if your priorities have changed, we're really having to hold hand to show that path, because otherwise the entire journey can be really very lonely, right? And
Right.
at that time, we do have a set of counselors, a set of facilitators, point of contact, faculty members, and Sandeep sir, of course, is there doing monthly session with all the joint students to put you back on track,
Right.
to really get back on things that you somehow let it be and it's not really shining. So now in terms of the GMAT preparation point of view, right? When you initially started, what were your strengths and what were your weaknesses, and how did you overcome the challenging section overall? Any particular materials and content that stood out so much that it at the end something from zero to level 100, if that
Right.
happened to you?
Right. So I started quants. I felt I was always strong in quants, but again, GMAT offers you a very different set of questions, a very different set of ways in which you need to approach those questions, because just knowing those questions theoretically or practically won't help you gain a score. You need to understand where to leave a question, how much time to give to a question, when to come back to it, because the test is ultimately adaptive. If you keep sitting on a question and then you get it wrong, the subsequent questions gets changed, and there is a domino effect in the entire process. So
Yeah,
just knowing the question is not knowing the process or knowing the topic is not the best way. Understanding how to approach the question and doing it is very important. So I saw how to improve there, not just in the practical portion which I already knew. So I had a strong math background, so that was not a big deal, but approaching a set of questions together, I learned here. Verbal was always a problem for me. So I have been very weak in verbal all along my life. Be it in 10th, 12th, I did essays every single day during my 10th and 12th boards so that I can crack that art of scoring. Like I was in ICSE, so anyway, scoring in English language papers was very difficult. So I always had this problem with English. Coming cut to different aptitude tests later, I again did not fare the best in verbal, even if my data interpretations and quants was very good. So when I started my prep with with top 1%, one thing I had to be clear was I needed to give a lot of time to verbal and the octave technique, firstly, and secondly, the consistent feedback and motivation from Sandeep sir during the live classes on how to approach questions. Again, it's an aptitude test where you need to understand that you need to just get the correct questions right. You get the passage properly or not, that is not the concern. It's just that you need to get the questions right because you need to get a good score.
right,
So there are different techniques you need to adopt to. There's the octave technique which sir has discovered, he has made himself. So putting them to use was the best way of getting questions right. And in that process, you just not learn how to use the technique to get questions right. You also inculcate the habit of reading better,
right,
understanding passages more. So you
correct,
just start with the process of getting questions right at first, but by the end of the process, you see that you understand passages better, be it 700, 800 level or of lower level. There's a overall development in you which helps you strengthen your verbal reasoning. So
right,
that was one. Second, an exhaustive critical reasoning module wherein all the types of questions are covered, all the different levels of questions are covered. By the end of the paper, when I was sitting for GMAT, when I saw CR questions, I was like, let me read these questions correctly. Is it appearing too simple to me that I'm able to understand it properly? Or is there a trick or is there something which I'm missing out in the questions? So
right,
by the end of the entire CR prep, I was quite prepared to tackle those questions very easily.
right,
And coming to data insights, I don't know. I did not fare the best in data insights in the paper, but I was doing quite well when I was prepping for data insights. That is also because I think I did not endure well during the entire course of my examination. By the third section, which was data insights, I was quite tired, which
right,
was a problem with me for during my mocks as well. So this is one space which I have identified for myself that I need to improve if I give my paper again.
right,
So otherwise, even the mocks with for data insights on the portal was quite exhaustive. That was quite tough as well when I compare it to actual paper. The level was quite different. We were prepared. You can say that we were almost prepared for like say for 30, 35 questions in those 40 minutes when we were giving mocks as compared to 20 questions because the the difficulty level, the amount of effort it took during mocks to solve those questions was quite high.
Right.
So the entire process was very exhaustive, but the only one of the most important improvement areas was verbal reasoning, where I think during the entire course, the material plus the live sessions plus the approach which Sandeep sir taught on how to tackle these questions was quite exhaustive and quite something which we were able to understand very easily. It was
Right.
not something that it was something rocket science. It was just coming out very naturally.
Right. I would just like to take a little bit more time on the verbal part of it,
Yeah.
because you have the material, and let's say all the students who have joined Top 1%, they have the same material. But what is that approach that you've taken from verbal being your weak area to then, understanding the questions that, like you said, from RC passages, for instance, then to getting the answer correct, and then to making sure that you get highest accuracy in a sitting with the lowest time. How did that transition happen to you, and how long did it actually take you to kind of get to that part?
So during my first month of preparation, I did untimed practice. I just focus on understanding how to put octave into the entire passage. I kept on giving appearing for questions like we had the live session PDFs as well. In addition to those, we had 700, 800. So I took that first after my live session questions. So it had like 118 passages. So I made it a point that at least in a week on 5 days, I'm doing at least 4 passages each.
Right,
So I'm at least doing 20 passages in a week. Plus, I'm applying octave religiously in it and not focusing on time in the first month until I get my accuracy correct. So
right,
this was my approach for the first month. Slowly and gradually, as I was getting my questions correct, for the wrong questions, I went back to the solutions. The solutions were very exhaustive. You understood why your correct answer was correct and why the rest of the questions were not correct,
right,
why the options were not correct. You can check if what you thought. Say there's a question, there's an option where you think that this could have been correct when you were appearing for that question. So when you check the answer solutions, you see that what did you think it correctly? Like, did you just ignore an option in fluke, or did you understand the approach behind eliminating that option? So
right,
that is very important that you eliminate the options correctly, because if you do it by fluke once, twice, thrice, you'll get it correct. But at a later stage, when you have tougher passages altogether, you'll have a series of wrong answers and you'll not be able to understand your faults. So just
right,
not like if you're appearing for 4 passages and you see that all the questions are correct, that is not the right approach to just leave the solutions and not go to it, but go back to the solutions and see why the other options were eliminated is very important. First. Second, the number of passages which I had during the entire course of my preparation was humongous. So 700, 800, inference marathon, primary purpose marathon. There were a lot of questions. There were a series of passages which had specifically tackled one type of questions of RC so that you can completely ace in it. So in the second month, I came to time practice. So firstly, I timed my entire 4 passages for say 25 minutes. Then I thought that that was not the right approach to seeing the passage. I started timing each passage then. So I need to complete my passage in 6 minutes, and that's done. Then
right.
you reset the timer and then you start another passage. But you can't just take 25 minutes and take 4 passages, because somewhere you'll have a 500, 550, or 600 passage and you'll be able to do it in 3 minutes. But
Correct.
then you'll be like, oh, I just did it in 25 minutes, so everything's good. But no, you might have just taken 10,
Yeah,
12 minutes in another passage which you just ignored. So
right,
that was not the right approach for me. So I started timing each single passage. When it had 3 questions, I somewhere I averaged 5 minutes, and where there were 4 questions, I averaged around 6 minutes. So when I kept increasing 1 minute if the passage was had more questions. So that was my approach for RC, and then I started taking up verbal sectional test in the last month, which had like a lot. I had lengthy passages, say 400 words, 450 words, there, where I took almost 4 minutes to read the passage. So then I had to tweak my time on how to appear for questions or how to take up some time from CR and put into RC. So that was my entire approach. But all I knew was, even if I'm getting questions wrong, just know the approach, just know how to appear for it. You might be having a bad day on the preparation day. Just don't get demotivated and come back to it tomorrow with a set of new passages. plus revision of the earlier passage to understand where you went wrong.
Right. So, Shubham, what you said is almost like a golden, framework,
Hmm.
with regard to any preparation. Because we generally say this, what we have to summarize it is that self-introspection, and a deeper analysis of every question, any sitting that you do with 4 questions or 25 questions, right? It's important that you come back and, analyze all those questions, and
Right.
then when you are looking at those questions again, you only look at the questions that you've gone wrong and see if you're making that mistake. So I don't think, and you've really clearly determined the stages also, on time to then timing it, and then the accuracy, and then analysis, because this is what we say, that you have to do a framework, and you followed it to the T, and you're saying the experience exactly the same way. I think that's the exact golden formula for really acing. From I was so poor at verbal,
Right.
now acing them, and this is a very systematic approach. So if someone says that, oh well, 2 months, but there's so much more of practice that's there, so much more of effort that is there, and you really opening these layers is a great insight. Now, going forward with your preparation, now that you're done with all of the quant, verbal, and data insights, when did you choose the exam day, and why did you choose? You mentioned why, because you wanted to do it
Right.
before you get into.
Also, I was very confident for the fact that if I prep for a month religiously, so just joined in the first week of July, I came to Delhi, settled up. So by 20th, I was just settling up properly. So I knew that if I give 30 days religiously and taking the words of Sandeep sir as literal Bible and understanding that if he has told me that it can be done in 30 days, it can be done in 30 days. He has seen it over years. And it's just that it was not that I was not confident enough or I was not prepped enough. I was ready for it. It was just
Right,
that I did not start with mocks very properly. I just appeared for 1 or 2 mocks before that. So I had to give a lot of mocks. And why I did was I had a word with my friend and he was like, will you appear for it if your scores are not the best in your mocks? I was like, I'll just appear for it. There's a
right,
very different scenario at home as compared to your exam center.
right,
The type of questions which I'm tackling at top is very different from what I'll get
right,
there, which I was very confident of seeing the level of questions at top mocks. Plus,
right.
I was very keen on setting a very perfectionist way of appearing for mocks. I simulated it like 110%. I
Wow.
had my laptop stand. I knew that I'll be seeing at a desktop level. So I knew I had to see it in an upright 90-degree position. I had my, I kept messaging GMAT doubts to understand, will I get a mouse? Will it be on a laptop? How will it happen? What time do I need to reach, etc., etc. So I
Right,
knew I need to have an angle of vision at the desktop level. So the
right,
last 1 month I had my laptop stand always at, if I'm prepping, I'm just doing it at this level or I'm not doing it. Plus
right,
I had my mouse always, that I have to do it on mouse. So you can't just practice on a laptop person and appear for your paper with a laptop mouse. You just can't direct it properly at the right option. So I prepped that way. I had a very calm. I For the last 1 month, as soon as I knew that I had my paper from 8 a.m., I woke up 7 a.m. every day because you need to prep your mind properly to be stimulated enough to sit for your paper at 8 a.m. I
okay,
appeared for all my mocks at 8 a.m. in the morning. So 8:15, I had to give my mock, or else I'm not appearing for mock on that day. I can't waste a mock that way. I also knew that if I gave the same mock in the evening, I might get 30, 40 points more because my brain is working at the best level in the evening hours. But
right,
because I had that constraint that I need to appear at 8 a.m., as like I just need to prep my mind in that way.
right,
So one thing I always tell my friends those who are appearing for GMAT, simulate it in the best way possible. And when you appear for the actual paper, you should not feel that you are in an external environment, in a foreign environment. You need to feel that it's just your place where you were giving all your mocks from, and that will help you sail.
uh,
Plus, when I talk about top mocks, another level. I had 100-point jump from top mocks to my actual score, and even for that, I was a bit confident because my basics were not a problem there. The entire situation of the mock was a problem. The toughness of the questions, the length of the passage. So everything cumulatively made my score low. But I knew that if I don't get nervous and if I appear for my paper very properly and take one question at a time, understand that I need to leave a question after 2.5 minutes, and I take every learning very religiously on the exam day, I can't go wrong there.
Right, right.
So that helped me a lot.
I think these are the some points, again, another golden points, I would say, something that you don't get to hear either from GMAT or from any other test prep. And these are
Right,
something that we assume that, you would be good at, you should know it, we give you instructions, yeah. But trust me, a lot of students who've given the GMAT at least one attempt, they would be like, I wish somebody said this to me.
right, right,
Right? Right from the angle to even some of the sheets. Yeah, I was just talking to one of the student who was saying that you're given a laminated sheet
right,
and
right,
his hands are very sweaty. And so everything that he was writing was getting rubbed off, right?
right,
And that really shook, not because, so his exam just derailed a little bit from the level of preparation to because all of these environmental changes. It can be massive, what you would be destined to get like a 708, 750, whatever the score, it would
right,
just fall behind by 20, 30 points because of these things. And
right,
great that you really touch based on these
right,
points. Nobody would do it in the way that you have actually said that, one of the things I think should be framed particularly. But so one last question to you. You obviously have done the GMAT, got the score. You would like to apply again to you mentioned that you would see if you could get a better score. And you already applied to ISB. What next for you? More importantly, because then this probably would be a question. Did you take up a KTW session, and how did that KTW session anywhere come in play for you in your preparation or
So I had a very tough and tight schedule for the last few months. I kept wishing that I start my KTW sessions. I do it. I do it. Somehow I finished my RC awareness sessions. I could not start with my KTW, but I feel that was one major setback for me. So something if I could not start for the last 3, 4, 5 months, I feel that was one drawback where I need to improve. It was my weakness. I was very attracted to KTW. Just 2 days back, when I was in my office, I opened the sheet and I was like, let me just take down the drive link for KTW. Let me just start with it. Even if I'm working in office, I can just have my earplugs plugged in and I can just start listening because I have seen people being impacted from it. And I want to be impacted even if it is not GMAT. I
because
want to be acquainted. I want to be a learned person in that way that I know a lot more than what I currently know. And I want my KTW sessions to come into play before I appear for another GMAT score.
it's not
So
for GMAT alone.
yeah, yeah,
Because that is going to be more impactful for now, because then if you're thinking of reapplying or if you're thinking of another school other than ISB, it is going to take, uh, you know, I feel definitely that it will take you to a completely different level where
right,
you may have not thought. Especially you said the boot camp really gave you a goal that you had never seen, and
right,
you defined a capability that you didn't see before. The KTW is going to do 5 times or 10 times more of that. It'll give you more specific goals, and you do have the right path. You are in the right path. You do have a direction. Like you're in the right place. I would say, the right place, right time. You just need to see some of these things
right.
and then set goals for yourself. I think that is the reason why I'm asking this question, because I know that it will definitely be impactful. I'll be
Because I could
very,
not
very
start with KTW, I made sure that whenever Thursdays with Sandeep happened,
yeah,
I attended all the sessions. I was like, if it is happening real time, let me just start watching it on Zoom because I need that. I
right.
need the kind of information he shares and the kind of insight he gives into the world. It's just
It
not
was,
some
it was in the
specific
late
field.
night also, so you're not
Yeah,
even
it was
tired of
9. Even if I
homework.
was in the gym, I was like, that's the best time. Let me just go to gym on at 9 a.m. on Thursday so that I can have that 1 hour of gym along with those sessions so that I
Okay.
can balance my schedule accordingly.
Yes, perfect.
So
Other thing that I just wanted to ask, because you mentioned you did have time with Ranjika as well, or with the counselors as well. How did that kind of shape up for you?
that my interactions and personal relationships with Ranjika ma'am and other faculty members there helped me trust the organization, I'd say. So the very first step in pursuing GMAT or say availing a counselor services for going abroad or studying anywhere is very important to trust the person you have indulged with. And seeing a variety of people in the industry, it's very important to choose somebody with whom you have a personal connection or you have a sort of trust and relationship which will take you forward.
Right,
So that played a very important role in understanding that somebody whom I'm talking to is not trying to persuade me into it, is
right,
actually wishing the best for me, wanting me to go ahead in life.
right,
So that played a very important role in building a trust in me that Shubham, just go all in. If they have said ABC, it is ABC. And if they say EFG, it is EFG. So
right,
just do that. That is very important overall. So
right.
that played a very important role. And Ranjika ma'am was there at every step. So even if I was not getting a good score in mocks, I would text her. GMAT doubts club, like GMAT doubts uh, portal
Email
on
ID. Yeah,
email was
back up.
quite comprehensive. Like it was almost real-time chatbot kind of a situation where I would just put in my query and within 5 to 7 minutes I'll have a proper solution to it that
Yeah, I
just
must
take the
tell you, they
steps.
are not bots, they are people, and
Exactly that's what it
but
felt
they
like
the
that.
compliment that they have actually
Yeah,
been there round the clock, and we have faculties every
yeah, even if I was
round
finishing
the
them at 12, before I sleep at 2, I was like, okay, I have my solution. There was one very specific thing I learned was the difference between profit margin and profit percentage. And that was something I understood for the first time. I was like, this is a very new encounter for me that these are very different things. So the kind of insights and proper insights into the place where I am facing a difficulty, somehow the mentors were able to understand my pain point and pick it out that yes, you are facing a problem here, help me solve every doubt very religiously.
right.
So that helped me a lot.
This conversation really brought a lot of emotion as well because it
Right.
really hits everything that we strive to do. Like when you get the score, you like as a student, probably you will alone be happy, but here everyone takes
Right.
that pride to be happy because we helped you get that score or
Right.
we were a part of that small journey.
Right.
And no matter how maybe Ranjika or maybe the faculty, even anybody in that term, that one conversation with you,
Right.
me and you as well and during MI, anything, right? So that just helps us feel so good because that's
Right.
what we want for you, right? And what you said really brought that back to us, and it's all that we want. We're not looking at, okay, you join us and then we'll see. Like you
Right.
join us because then you want it and then we'll help you get there, right? So thank you so much, Shubham. I must tell you, this has been right very, very inspiring story, and great time talking to you. I really wish there I'm 100% sure, and we'll stay connected, by the way,
Right.
that things will move much higher than what you're imagining right now. I'm sure you want to give some time to your work because
Right.
it's great space that you are at, and hopefully you utilize everything that you have. Thank you so much for trusting Sandeep sir. Thank you so much
Right.
for trusting Top 1% in through your journey here, and wishing you all the very best.
Thank you. I'll just add one last bit that I'm very grateful that I enrolled myself with top 1%. Every second person those who ask me about my GMAT experience, I'm like, you need to go with top 1% hands down. I am vouching for it, and if I'm vouching for it, it is there. You They will take you where you want to go. It's just that you just given what they are asking from you. If they're asking you that just give 2 hours, 3 hours a day, spend a lot of time on weekends, just do it. From other places, if you'll be taking it for a year or 6 months, they'll help you just do it in 3 months. And what better than struggling for 3 months, giving a lot of hard work for 3 months, if you see yourself fruition in those 3 months.
You're right.
So that was very important for me, and I'll always stay connected with top 1% in every different way. I know some of the people whom I was connected with through the faculty expected a much larger, more score from me, and I get it that there was something 50 more odd points which I can increase, and I'd want to be in that club as well where I have 50 more points in my kitty. So somewhere down the line later, once again when I have some free time when I think I can devote a lot of attention and efforts to this, I'll come back to it. attain a better score and maybe go to greater heights, help top 1% also add one more person in their kitty to see how they can excel as well. So I'll always stay connected with the top 1%, and I'm forever grateful to
And a
top
great
1%.
example that this is more than the GMAT preparation. You
Right.
really set much larger expectation, both in terms of where your life can be 5 years or 10 years down the line, and then one step at a time. GMAT out of your way, and then next. So thank you again. You've been very kind and generous this afternoon, and I wish you all the very best. Good luck. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.